Welcome everybody to Mentoring Turns the Key. We hope you're here to learn with us about how mentoring makes clubs successful, to share some ideas and hopefully spread the enthusiasm for mentoring and the success that it brings to our clubs, but more importantly to our individual members. My first question for you is, what is a mentor? So in the chat right now, can you write a word or a phrase? What is a mentor to you? What's the value of a mentor? What's the definition of a mentor? A friend, that's great. Supportive, a teacher, I love teachers. A guide, super. An expert. Cheerleader, I'm with you, Mary. If we had a lot of cheerleaders, we've had a lot of success stories, a lot of winners. Super duper. So here is a Wordle that we created from a previous workshop. And you can just take a look at some of the words. Guidance, teacher, wisdom, supporter, learning, inspiration. A mentor is key. A mentor can be many things to many people. Bob Proctor says a mentor is someone who sees more talent and ability within you than you see in yourself and helps bring it out of you. And I love this quote. This is Bob Proctor, who is a Canadian author, and he wrote, "You were born rich." I believe that when we help bring the talents out in others, it is a tremendous gift, and it's an incredible journey for us to take to actually help other people. So mentoring turns the key. This is why we're here tonight. And I want to share a little bit about how Alison and I met. In 2016, we were doing a youth leadership program in Okotoks, and one parent volunteered and helped organize all of the students and the roles that they would be performing. I remember thinking, I wish Alison would join our club. She's a powerhouse. But she didn't join our club. But she joined District 42. And in November 2020, I saw her face on the New Boot Camp blog on our website. She was making a difference at Calgary Pacesetters, and I knew we needed to connect again. Her club was vibrant and growing. How was she doing it? And what was going on at Pacesetters? Since then, VP Education Alison and her club hosted a membership workshop in March. She co-hosted our Success Summit in May with Irma Goosen. And we presented Membership is Key in June. We're here for part 2. Mentorship leads to success at Calgary Pacesetters and to many clubs across our district. Alison spearheaded the new member boot camp, and Alex Campbell was responsible for the mentorship program. Today, let's take a look at a typical membership program looks like and how you can create it in your own club. Develop the atmosphere of mentoring and watch your members achieve bigger goals, have fun, and develop leaders. Alison, show us how to construct an effective program.
Thank you very much, Christina. And I just want to say thank you so much for being my mentor within the Toastmasters program. You're an inspiration, and I couldn't have asked for a better mentor. And this is one of the situations where the mentor chose the mentee. Christina definitely chose me, and it can work that way. The mentorship program can work both ways. You can choose your mentor, or the mentor can choose you. All right, so show of hands, and I'll get Christina to maybe check the chat because I don't have a full screen here. Who here already has a fully functioning mentorship program within your club right now? You can put that in the chat, or you can raise a hand. Just trying to get an idea as to where everybody is.
We got one person, one at Chinook.
Nobody else?
That's awesome that you're here tonight then.
All right. Okay, but you're in the right
program.
You're in the right spot. And I know this isn't particularly true because Andrea is here and we've got a membership program here. So, all right. So we're starting a work in progress. That's great. All right. Now my next question, show of hands. Who here needs more work in their life? Who here has got like so much extra time that you just have oodles and oodles of time to vote to?
Hey, Andrea, we got something for you to do.
All right, so this is absolutely nobody has this much extra time. And this is one of the reasons why I love the Toastmasters mentorship program, is because it doesn't take a lot of time and it works. And it is also specifically designed to spread out the work throughout the club, so it's not one person doing it. Now, if you're here tonight, you might be the one that's going to implement the mentorship program in your club. However, you're not going to be the one doing all the work. Many hands is going to make really light work. Now, at the end, I will actually give you another concrete example of how this is true. I'll prove it to you. Now, in the chat, and maybe Christina can just write this down, how many VP educations do we have here tonight? I need to know how many of you this is your role. So just throw that in your chat, just put your name and put VP Ed beside that in the chat, please. And Christina will mark that down. While you're doing that, I also need to know how many of you are VP memberships. Put that down. How many of you are presidents in your club? And how many of you are just a random member of your club, or if you hold a different role in your club? If you could mark that down as well. And then we'll kind of get an idea as to what your role is. And that's great. Thank you. We've got some treasurers. Okay, and don't just put your club name, but yeah, put what you're doing as well. All right. So my next question to you is, any guesses? Who is the one person in your club that should not be heading up the mentorship program? There's one particular role in particular that should not be doing the mentorship role. Any? Yeah, okay, sorry. Got it. I have a feeling that some of you were at my last presentation. Absolutely. The one person who should not be doing this is the VP Education. Now, as the former VP Education in my club, I am more than aware that the role of mentorship for Toastmasters is actually under the VP Education role. Unfortunately, VP Education has like 1,000,001 things to do, and really there's not enough time and headspace for this one person to be doing it. So you're absolutely right. VP Education should not be doing this role. All right, so now who could be the ideal person to be the mentorship champion? Any guesses? Could be, yeah. All right. So here's some ideal candidates. The first one is VP membership.
Someone not on the executive.
Oh, pardon?
Somebody wrote, Mary said, someone not on the executive.
Exactly. So I like that. We'll get to that one in a second. But if someone on the executive, ideal person is VP membership. And this is because the VP membership has the most contact and experience with new members than any other person in the club. And so VP membership will have a sense automatically if the new member is shy and timid and they need someone and they need to match them with a particular person, whether they're self-motivated or if they are going to need a lot of help. And so they're going to be ideally suited to do the matching up that way. And yes, absolutely right, member at large. Anybody in your club can run the mentorship program. It doesn't have to be, it could be a long-term member. It could be someone who knows the membership well. It could be somebody who just wants to take on a project.
Ooh, someone doing an HPL. Nice, Shelley.
Oh, high performance leadership. That's right.
Good for you.
Now, who can be a mentor? Absolutely anybody in your club who has some experience with the role, some experience with giving speeches, can be a mentor in your club. And sometimes, and they do not have to be an expert. Okay, you don't have to take your high performance leaders and make them the mentors. And as a matter of fact, sometimes it's your lagging members. When you make them a mentor, that's when they really, really shine. And it's interesting is that a lot of times you don't know how far you've come until you have to turn around and teach somebody else. So if you have that person that maybe it doesn't have a lot of confidence, it doesn't feel like, oh, gee, I don't know if I'm progressing, I don't know how I'm doing, I don't think I can do this. You make that person a mentor, and all of a sudden it clicks. It's like, oh, already know all these rules. I've already given that speech. It's a huge boost of confidence. So absolutely anybody can be a mentor. Now, the one thing you have to remember is when you're managing the mentorship program is always remember that each mentor is going to do it a little bit differently, and it might not be the exact way that you would have done it, and that's okay. And if anything, it's great. For example, Lorraine Dion just took over as VP Ed, and the first thing that she did was change our agenda, and I was so thankful for that. I really disliked our past agenda, but I didn't know how to fix it, and I gave up. I fooled around with it a few times. I gave up. Lorraine came in. The first thing that she did was change the agenda, and it's so much better. I'm very, very thankful. So if just because someone doesn't do it exactly the way you did, that's okay. All right. Now, in order to if you're going to take on the role to be the mentor championship in your club, one of the biggest thing that you're going to be doing is matching the new members with existing members. And this is great because it really spreads out the work. Once you get, and it depends how busy your club is. If your club is not getting that many new members, that's not a lot of work for you to do. And now if you're like Pace Setters last year where we got a lot of new members all at once, yeah, there was a lot of work to do. But you know, your main job is to really get to know the new members, get to know your existing membership, and match the mentees with the mentors. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can match for skills development. So this is what this means is, okay, so when I was working, sorry, losing myself right here for a moment. Specific skills development. So let's say you have an existing membership. Maybe you don't have a lot of new members in your club, but you still want to have a mentorship program. There are specific skills that people need to learn, that need to grow, and you can match people with that. So for instance, Zonka Buklevia, who maybe some of you have heard of, she's in our club and she has just won the District 42 Public Relations of the Year Award. And what you might not know about Zonka is that English is her 5th language. So I have been working with Zonka for over a year. We have been doing very specific skills development, and that is increasing her English vocabulary. So that's very specific what you know, for skills development. So your mentorship program can be any number of things. It could be matching new members, or it could be developing new skills within your club. Now, once you've matched up the mentors and the mentees, you can pretty much let everybody run with it. You don't need to be micromanaging. However, you do need to have some sort of follow-up program involved. And it's a really good idea that you let the mentor or the mentoree know that you do have a follow-up schedule, and that, so it's not a surprise. And it's also a good idea to explain to them what you hope to see at these different follow-up times. So the 3 months, now I'm not saying this is how you have to do it, because everybody gets to do it however you want to do it. But let's, as an example, say that in 3 months, your mentee should be attending regular meetings. They should be doing some of the smaller roles like grammarian or timer, or maybe doing some evaluations. And they should have done at least their icebreaker speech. At 6 months, now they might start working on some of the medium-sized roles, and they have to now working through their level 1, maybe working towards their level 2 in pathways. And after a year, you're hoping that they're going to tackle some of the larger roles, that they're Toastmasters, they're general evaluator, they're table topics master, those kinds of big roles. And they're also helping the club. They're now starting to give back. So we want to see people that are helping with the contest. Maybe they're a judge, maybe they're a timer at the judge, or maybe they're a contestant at the contest, right? They should have at least finished level 1 and well on their way into level 2. Now, the VP education is not off the hook at all. As a matter of fact, the VP education, now your role becomes the backstop. And as we know, if you're a VP education, we know you've got all kinds of spreadsheets and whatnot, and you're keeping track of everybody. So it's really good for the VP education and the VP and the person in charge of the mentorship program to have a good relationship and to be able to talk and to discuss the members. If anybody's falling through the cracks, VP education is there to help you and to provide support. So you're not alone. Right, so we talked a little bit about this. You are, as a club, as the person responsible for the mentorship program within your club, you get to set specific goals and make it work for your club. In our club, we're all about being welcoming, being supportive, being encouraging. We value those attributes above winning first place at the contests. All right, of course, we're going to cheer people on and we're going to give them that support. However, our club culture is very much, we want to be welcoming, supportive, and make everybody successful, as opposed to make one person successful. When you're the mentorship coordinator, make sure that you communicate well with the entire membership, what your specific goals are, and when you're going to be following up with people. It's always hard to say goodbye, isn't it? But all good things must come to an end. In our club, we end the mentorship program for new members after about a year. By that point in time, they've worked their way through most of the roles. They're well on their way with their pathways, and they're starting to give back to the club. They're done. With the skills development, though, that might not be up to you. The skills development, it will depend. I'm still working with Zanka a year later, more than a year later, on the vocabulary, because that's an ongoing thing. Other people who are maybe working on how to use gestures appropriately for their presentations, that might be like just a 1 or 2 month thing. So when you're doing a specific skills development, that might be more up between the mentor and the mentee. However, just keep in contact with them and make sure that you understand where everybody is and if they can then be available to mentor somebody else. This is where the Toastmasters mentoring program is so valuable and is self-sustaining. And this is the one thing that if you're going to implement a program, this is the absolute one thing that you absolutely must do. And that is to set the expectation that the mentee will then become the mentor. Mm-hmm. In our club, when you're done, when your year is up, that's it. Alex Campbell, who's in charge of our mentorship program, he immediately turns around and says, okay, Alison, the next new person coming in, be ready because you're going to be mentoring them. So it's just automatic. We just automatically assume, okay, so when I joined this club, I got a mentor. Okay, great. That mentorship is done. Now I get to turn around and go be a mentor to somebody else. It's not a surprise. It's nothing to balk at. Everybody just assumes that this is Toastmasters, that this is what happens. And it really sets Toastmasters and it really sets your club apart if you have that integrated mentorship program. Christina and I were talking earlier about how within our everyday meetings in Pacesetters, we talk about mentorship all the time, not about mentorship in particular, but we talk about our mentors and our mentees. For instance, one of our new members signed up to do a speech and we needed an evaluator for them. And another member said, oh, I'll do it. I'm their mentor. I would like to evaluate this particular one because I know what they've been working on. So those are the types of conversations that happen. We just assume that everybody's a mentor and everybody's going to be. So that's the self-fulfilling. That's how this has become sustainable. So this is my club. We had a big 30th anniversary celebration earlier this year. And I just have to say that our club, Pacesetters, we're not special. If anything, we're the antithesis of special. We're boring, we plod along, we're in a suburban club in the deep south of Calgary. We are not a high performance club, and we are definitely not flashy. But we do follow the Toastmasters mentorship program, and we do all the little steps that Toastmasters asks us to do. And as it turns out, doing all those little things in the end adds up to a really big thing. Now, when I started this presentation, I said, I will guarantee that you will have less work. And this is how I'm going to prove it. The entire Pacesetters executive had a 100% turnover on the executive, except for Carson Pitts, who went from being our sergeant at arms to the president. Every single role was 100% turnover with a new member. And that's because all of the executive went out, found our replacements, and trained them in advance. So Andrea here tonight, she's now our VP PR, and she was trained by Natasha Kutrik. And the reason why these members were so excited to join the executive is because they knew that they were going to get the support and help from the previous executive, but they were also going to be left alone to run with it and do their best. A successful mentor is one that coaches themselves out of a job. And that's what we do at Pacesetters. We coach ourselves out of a job, and it's an absolutely glorious thing. And you want to know who else is absolutely highly successful mentor who constantly generates the next generation of leaders? That would be Christina Kruis. Through her years in Toastmasters, Christina has touched many parts of the Toastmasters program. She has developed mentors in the youth leadership area and division leaders, contest judges, tech team support, training facilitators, and more. As division director, she motivated all of her area directors to achieve Distinguished Toastmasters designation. One of her team members absolutely enthused about Christina, and this is what she had to say. I often wondered what motivated this woman to be as dedicated to the Toastmasters organization as she is. After a full year of watching her in action, I figured it out. Christina Kruis' superpower is growing leaders. Her personal model for success, her deep sense of satisfaction, is created by having people growing into their own personal leadership style. At another conference that Christina was at, several of the DTMs gave a shout out to her for guiding them to reach their goals. One of the things they said was that Christina absolutely loves learning and that her energy and enthusiasm is absolutely contagious. By mentoring others, the program thrives and more mentors and leaders are made. Christina has learned from terrifically generous mentors and totally loves playing it forward to others. There's something very energizing about being part of somebody else's success. Being a mentor changes lives, mostly her own. Everybody, please welcome Christina Kruis.
Thank you, Alison. And I just want to add on to what Alison has just explained about Pacesetters celebrating 30 years, the success that's coming out of that club. We now have 3 district leaders coming out of Pacesetters. Alison is tremendously involved in the training that's going on this year already, and there have been past contest winners. So when the mentoring grows, the people grow, and the ripple effect beyond the club is such a success for everybody and helps other people be inspired to network and move themselves forward in their own program. So where do we start? Carson Pitts, who is the president of Pacesetters, says it best. Our action plan includes an emphasis on, of course, mentorship. It grants members the support, feedback, and flexibility they need to complete their pathway objectives. Advanced members will be encouraged to set an example and use speeches to help new members understand how meetings are conducted. All the members will be able to learn different meeting roles and how to conduct them so that they can learn new skills, enhance their strengths, and step out of their comfort zone. And this just totally magnifies what Alison was just talking about within her own club. It begins at the top. The club executive focuses on mentorship, and it builds from there. The idea of mentoring is part of the club culture, and it is well established. This quote from Pacesetters' summer newsletter absolutely clearly shows that mentorship is key. So what is the first step? Number 1, you have to welcome every guest every time. Dynamically Speaking presently has 46 members from around the world, and it has shown success in contacting the guest before the meeting even starts. A week before, somebody calls that guest who wants to come. They open the meeting room early, and there's lots of banter and getting to know each other. They close the meeting late so those people can stay and get to know each other. But number one, they welcome the guest. And by the time the person shows up, they've probably talked to 2 or 3 of the members from the club. Number 2 is you need to invite the persons who speak. So I have a story that just blows me out of the water, and I hope none of you would have ever done this in your own club. There was a guest who went to the first club, went to the second club, and went to the third club, where at the end of that meeting, somebody said, "Hey, new guest, what do you think of our club? What did you think of the meeting?" And she replied, "I am touched that you think my opinion is valuable, and I will be joining you. I went to 2 other clubs and nobody spoke to me." We want to speak to our guests, and we want to invite them to speak and contribute right away from the first meeting. Then what's next? Get them on the agenda ASAP. We want them to understand free toast, easy speak, turbo base, the spreadsheet that passes around the room, whatever it is, we want them to sign up for roles. And I want you right now in the chat, why is it important to get new members and guests that become new members on the agenda as quickly as you can? What happens when we do that? Engage the people, join. Exactly. When you're important in the crowd, you're thinking maybe this is somewhere I can belong. A sense of contribution, absolutely. Engage people, stay with the club. They start to feel like a member. And as soon as somebody feels like they belong, they're going to come back again. They feel part of the team. And we know that. One of our immediate needs is to feel that we belong. So we have a responsibility, and we have the opportunity to do that with people when they come to our room. So now we've got them signed up for roles. We need to support them. And this is what I want from you. How do you support that new member? Lots of ideas have been shared, but what do you do at your club to support somebody who's doing a role for the first time or starting to speak? How do we get them to feel supported? We can give you the answers, but I know you know.
Sign a mentor.
That's awesome.
Someone's paying attention.
Assign a mentor. Yes, we win. We can all go home now.
Good night.
They need to be contacted by their mentor. This is mentor provide guidance. Share with them the role form. Beautiful, Andrea. That's right. So you, as a member of Toastmasters, already have resources. They are not to be hidden. They are to be shared. So the support that happens for our new members does not happen in that meeting. New people and members who are part of Toastmasters need to understand that we cannot be a Toastmaster 59 minutes a week. I go to my club and I go home. And you'll learn, but it'll take an awful long time. When we were meeting in person, I don't know how many people I went for a coffee to explain that first role or to help them with their speech. When we do it in a pandemic, we might have a telephone call. We might have some emails. We might share a document that would help them be whatever their new role is going to be, that first role. So it's really interesting when we start to see people invite and embrace those new members, the relationships start to build and your agendas start to get filled up. People are prepared and excited to be part of the meeting. So when we actually shadow them, we have them shadow a role before they take it on. So it is not unlike somebody would be supposedly, let's say, a timer, and you could chat to them throughout the meeting privately to say, don't forget to start the red card or get your virtual backgrounds ready. Remember, I sent them to you last week. Whatever it is, encourage them and motivate them to take ownership for that role. But once they have that support, watch the confidence build. And when somebody is a mentor and has to work with the student, there becomes a relationship. Sometimes it's just academic, but sometimes there's friendships. So as we have mentor-mentee relationships happening within the club, you'll see there's more fun and people are growing. And how do we get, so we build confidence and success. And my last question is, who can be a mentor? You know the answer to this.
Three.
Who can be a mentor? Everyone's a mentor. So if we want everybody to be a mentor, what can we do within our club to encourage that kind of atmosphere? And there's some very specific things. I like that Toastmasters wear many hats, Lorna, that's great. So we're sharing the resources so that they can learn the rules. What do we have in the last few years that will help people behave and understand how to be a mentor? It's a good thing you're here tonight, then. There's actually a mentor path in Pathways. So if you can establish one or two people to actually use that role or use that resource, then there's going to be a way for other people to learn the process. And it's very specific about what you do for short-term goals, longer-term goals at 3 months. So if we actually use the mentorship program, we will find that there are lots of benefits. This is designed to increase sustainability for a club. We also, by default, end up networking. And I love that there is a relationship where a mentor teaches a mentee. But most of us also realize that the mentee teaches the mentor. And so the networking happens, and I can share one skill, but you can share another. One of the things I love about our advanced club is we have mentors unofficially in different skill sets throughout the club. I'm doing a humorous speech, I'm going to contact that person. I have to run a contest, I know they were a chief judge. I'm just learning Zoom, I know that person is really techie. I want to promote an event, I go to her for PR ideas. And there is a lot of networking that happens. When we have that mentorship visible and it being experienced within the club, our leaders and our members are ready, they're self-efficient, and they start to progress. And the expected outcomes across the club is distinguished club. But what's better than that is that we actually have people growing individually. So the individual successes supports the club's success. And that's a very visible thing. Thanks, Mary. This is actually Mary's words. So Mary is a Division E director this year. And we talked about mentoring before this session. And Mary said that our clubs have a long-term sustainable mentoring program, that the clubs that we have are distinguished year after year. And that's an incredible statement. Clubs that have an advanced mentoring program, so they practice Circle of Gold, for example, are presidents distinguished. It's part of the culture of excellence that clubs need to embrace to become and stay successful clubs. Now, this is powerful words from Mary Schindorfer, who is a member of Literally Speaking and To the Point. Both were presidents' distinguished clubs. They had 9 or 10 points in our distinguished club program. That is a successful club, but it only happens because of the progress and growth of all of the individuals. If we can do what Alisen did in Pace Setters, what's going on in Literally Speaking and To the Point, where we're actually building the next generation of leaders, we'll never have burnout. We'll actually be doing less work and growing and learning more from each other. Okay. Oh, this is important. The key to learning is feedback. It's nearly impossible to learn anything without it. And that was from Stephen Levitt. If we're not getting feedback, it's not possible for us to continue to learn. And by creating a mentorship program, you are creating an environment where people continue to learn. So the feedback comes from the mentor, but believe it or not, from the mentee as well. So let's look at what role should a new member do first. What role on the agenda would you think is a good place for a new member to start? Just chat that, whatever role you think it is on the agenda. Uh-huh. The joke master? Toastmaster? Wow, Christopher, that's amazing. Good. Grammarian? Thanks, Mark. Any role they're ready for. That's right. I have a little story to share. I was in a club and we had a guest who arrived. And our club was in the evening, so we always had a break. After the break, I think she must have joined during the break, she did her icebreaker. She hadn't even seen a full meeting yet. But she got up and she did her icebreaker. Wow. And it was good. So in our heads, we have a little bit of a hierarchy about roles, but what we need to realize is that whatever role that person is ready for is a role we should open the door and invite them to participate in. And we know that when people participate, when people get excited about seeing themselves grow, when they learn from each other, they contribute back to the club. So mentorship is the key to extraordinary success. And in many ways, in Toastmasters, success is defined as President's Distinguished. But it's way more than that. So we're asking you right now, who is committing to implementing a mentorship program within their club this fall, whether you're starting it or building on it? Put your name and your club in the chat. Are you committed to creating a mentorship culture in your club? That's why I'm here, Chris. Sayers, thank you, Chris. Marg, downtowners, fabulous.
Statesayers, we had a bunch of statesayers come to the Pace Setters Club. So, Chris, were you one of those?
There you go. No?
No.
Good job, Shelley. Lorna, for
right.
Two people here.
Fantastic. Look at all those people that are
MVP and CMA. Abe is the president of initials. Mary Schindorfer, my vision is to create a mentorship culture in Division E. Fabulous, Mary. And Division E is privy to the original Circle of Gold, which is creating better speakers and better leaders, better evaluators, better people on the agenda all the time. My objective is to hand the duties to someone else. We call that delegating. That is fabulous leadership, Christopher. That's good. Dorothy at Chinook. So we're glad that you're here tonight. And we want you to know that we're committed to helping you be a better mentor within your club. So we're going to ask you to build your mentorship program, go forth and make more mentors in your club. Go ahead, Alison.
Sorry, I'm
much to see. So we would like to meet again, where mentoring opens doors, and we would love for you to commit to establishing a better mentoring program within your club. And we'll meet again, where Alice and I are committed to following up, which is part of mentoring. So if you have mentoring going on in your club, are you getting less work? Are you seeing better results? And are you willing to share so somebody else could do the same?
Yeah, thank you very much, Christina. And Christina and I were talking about this, and we feel so strongly about the mentorship program, and we really want you to be successful in creating the mentorship program of your dreams in your club. That Christina and I, one of the reasons why we asked you to put your name on here is because we do want to follow up with you in the next 3 to 6 months to see where you're at, where you're struggling, where your successes are, and can we help or can we put you into contact with somebody else? So everybody who put your name down, we're going to be taking notes of that, and you expect to hear from Christina and I in the next little while. We're going to give you time to get it up and running, and we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to be following up with all of you to help make sure that you're as successful as you can be.
Can I ask a quick question? It's Lorna here.
Certainly.
So I attended this meeting because I want to try and get people moving forward in our club. We have a number of newer members that may have done just one speech in level 1 or still need to get started in pathways. And I was thinking, as the president, to reach out to our more experienced members, try to assign one person, like a mentor to a mentee. And I think we have enough experienced people that they should be able to handle that role. And then that way we each have someone that we're going to follow through for the year. Does that make sense?
That's totally how you do it, Lorna. And what you've done is, instead of having to mentor 7 or 8 or 3 people, everybody's mentoring one. So they can approach the relationship with the skills that that person is looking for. And it actually will help both the mentor and the mentee to grow. But it's a brilliant idea. If you can, and that's what we've been talking about this evening. If you have a mentorship champion, they're not in charge of mentoring everybody. They're in charge of getting every new member matched up with a mentor who then takes it on. So if they don't know how to get on pathways, the mentor takes them on Zoom and shows them the steps to choose their path and start with their icebreaker. The next meeting, they're going to practice and understand the steps of looking through the icebreaker project. Some people will take that on themselves. Other people don't even know what button to push. So you want to match the mentor with the mentee with the same kind of personality that they need. And in some cases, and most of the clubs I've been in, mentors might have 1 or 2 people that they're mentoring. So then you could do a group session, but you wouldn't do it during your normal club meeting. It would be something beyond that.
No, I usually schedule when I'm meeting either on a different lunch hour, because we're a work club. So we either do it on a different lunch hour, or in some cases I've done it in the evening, and then I have more flexibility if they need a couple hours.
That's amazing. What a gift you are to your club. That's super. Thank you, Lorna.
I love Christopher here from the Sightseers. His objective is to hand off the duties to somebody else. And that is exactly right, Christopher, is that when you create the program, you create the structure, and you become really good at this particular skill while you're creating it. But absolutely, the plan is for you not to have to do this for the rest of your life. The plan is for you to then train the next mentorship program coordinator and for them to take it on, and you get to watch this baby grow. And it's important that a lot of times when we are starting out something, or if we're really good at something, sometimes the impetus or the reaction is to hold it tight and to hold on to it and say, no, this is mine. But it's when you can let your baby go and let it go out into the world and let the next person take it and grow it and change it and make it into something new and better, or new and different, is when you grow, the program grows, the club grows, and everybody benefits from the ability to have that role. Everybody can try out this being the mentorship program coordinator. So you've got it absolutely right, Christopher. Yeah, do it, grow it, and hand it off.
It's like letting a teenager go out the door.
Yes.
Shelley has a good question, and Shelley was the area director for what is now D42 several times. But she says she remembers when Pacesetters were a struggling club, and there was one person who started the turnaround. How fast did it happen? 1 year?
I would have to say that the number one person who turned it around was Alex Campbell, and he had to do a variety of things. One of them, he changed the location of the club. The club used to meet down like St. Mary's, close to downtown, and they changed the location, and that really changed the membership because it was down south now. People could come home after work, get changed, and then come to the club. So that really made a big difference in improving the club membership. I have to say, all this happened before my time. When I joined, it was already a lovely club. There was already at least 20 members, I think, and it has grown in the past year as well. So by the time I got there, it was already up and running. But one of the things, and Alex talked about this in another presentation, is that If things aren't working for your club, then you have to make a change. You cannot be afraid to sit down with the entire membership and say, listen, we have to talk about this. Right now in the pace setters, we have been trying, we did our sunshine clubs, July and August, we were outside and it was so nice to actually see people. I actually got to meet Andrea after working with her almost a year. I actually got to set eyes on this woman for the first time. And let me tell you, it was like, it was absolutely amazing. Now we were having discussions in our club because we wanted to have one in-person meeting and one online meeting. But with the COVID and the fourth wave, it's the logistics of this. So we're having discussions in our club. What do we do? Do we charge extra for meeting rooms? Where are we going to meet? Are we going to meet? How's it going to look? What if we raise money for a meeting room and then we don't go? What happens to that money? So we are in the midst of discussions right now. Our club is in flux right now. We're in change right now. And that's okay. Talk to your members, make changes. If you're a small club and there's another small club beside you that's meeting, join. Do what you need to do to have a vibrant club.
It's interesting in the Zoom world. And if you look at your screen right now, we have 4 cameras on and we're filling the screen with the number of people who are here. But there are a lot of meetings that might only be 9, 8 people on the screen. And it's hard to get that face to face, especially when people are for whatever reason with their cameras not off. But the energy builds the more people you bring into the room. And the more people you bring into the room is because of the product that you produce. And when you have mentors, you're producing a better product because people are prepared to be on the agenda. And so there's a better flow to a meeting, which attracts a person to be part of that meeting. So I realize Ron McTavish has just joined us. And if you don't know Ron, I'd love to introduce you. He's a member of Dynamically Speaking, which now has a membership of over 40 people. And Ron is instrumental in the mentorship program that's going on there. Ron, are you able to just add your 2 cents to this group and let them know what's the magic mentoring at Dynamically Speaking and how do we transport that? And I know you're working with several clubs that are seeing success. How do we get that to be bigger across the D42?
Well, I can add 2 cents. My challenge is since I've just joined.
Okay, 20.
I don't know what 2 cents has already been contributed, but the history of our club, we've always had a strong mentorship program. Before Zoom, we were a President's Distinguished Club that had 25 members, and we had 4 people, 3 DTMs, and 1 person who had about 8 or 9 years experience. That was the extent of our mentoring. And now, if you looked at our roster today, it says 48 people on our roster. Now, we're going to lose some people because every club loses people when you have a membership renewal time. So we'll be 42 or 3 or something like that. But what's happened, mentoring is behind our success. It's one of the factors. But since we went to Zoom, we've grown from 25 members to, let's say, 45 members. And that's happened in 18 months. And the mentoring part is really strong. So Margot know what I'm talking about because I mentioned this last night at the coaches presentation that I gave. We now have 9 people that we would call senior mentors, but we have 11 people who are our junior mentors. And we train them from about, let's say, the end of level 1. And for some people, it's like the 3rd speech. They work with a senior mentor and they teach some of the minor roles in a club, but working with the senior mentor, we're training them to be mentors as well. Now they won't become senior mentors, but many of them are. And so when you have 20 people in your club who are involved in mentoring or coaching in many cases, that just jacks up the leveraging power of your club. And it's really something that it's a strong part of our culture. And we try to do everything in our club with speed. So for an example, today, we had a new member join in the last week. And today, the junior and senior mentor met with that person. So it's not something that happens like a month after they join or 2 months after they join. It's just like right away. And that's typical. So, I mean, that's kind of the framework type of thing. But how it translates, and it's at the bottom of our membership growth, is people come to our meetings because our meetings are events, and we usually have over 30 people at a meeting, and so there's lots of energy there. There could be no energy, but we've made it so there's lots of energy there. And so people who are guests who come to that meeting, they kind of get blown away by the energy. But then when they become members, they get blown away by how much attention we pay to them in the first 4 to 5 or 6 months of them being in our club. And so what they in turn do is become walking billboards for our club. And so our recruiting comes in the main from those new people who have been mentored. So it's really cyclical.
That's called sustainability, right? That's what we're after at every club and within the district. So thanks, Ron.
Thank you very much, Ryan. That's amazing. Thank you for summing it up so spectacularly. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy when it's just assumed that if you've been mentored, you're going to mentor, and it's just going to keep going. And after a while, mentorship is not even a discussion; it's a given.
And it's a huge attraction, right? It's what attracts people because they're looking for an education program. That's why they came in the door in the first place. So when we can prove that education is happening and people are progressing, how could you not sign up for this incredible program?
I'll add a couple things to that. We've got a couple of audacious goals at our club, and one of the audacious goals this year is to have a minimum of 20 people in our club graduate from level 1, and we view that as really critical because after a person gets to level 1 and they've been mentored and coached all the way through, they really become a valuable person to the club, because then for the most part, they don't need to be mentored anymore. During that time period, they've tackled and now can perform every one of the meeting roles, and they've probably done 4 or 5 speeches type of thing. So they turn into something that really becomes an asset to the club. And we just really firmly believe in that. So we got to help them get to level 1, and then it's kind of transformative for them. It's like they go from this cocoon period to being the butterfly somewhere around the end of level 1.
So Ron, I have a question then. You have 45 plus members. How long are your meetings, and how do you get 20 people to do, like, that's 60 speeches, right?
Okay, well, I mean, you remember how 18 months ago people said, Zoom is just awful. It's just going to be the end of Toastmasters as we know it. Well, we've sort of flipped it around. We think it's the best. Marg, I'll refer back to last night. Zoom is the second best thing that happened to Toastmasters since Dr. Smedley, brought down the gavel. And the first best thing was in 1973, and that's when women became members of Toastmasters. And it opened up the world. And, now we have twice as many members as we would have ever had before. And that's the same thing with Zoom. We almost have twice as many members as we did before because of how you can reach out and do things. I mean, it's not limiting. So to answer your question about how we do this, I mean, you can look at Zoom and say it's the end of the world. And we looked at Zoom and said, it's the beginning of everything, because it forces you to be creative. I mean, you have a choice. You can say it's the end, or you can say I can't believe the opportunities. So to go to the opportunities part, as a Lethbridge club, we, with our 25 members, we had most of those people within 15 minutes drive of Lethbridge. And now we have 45 people in the province of Alberta. We have people in 14 different communities from Fort McMurray to the border, and we have 8 international members. And it's forced us to do some things different. Like what? Okay. Well, we used to have 2-minute table topics in our club. And then some of our members who like table topics are saying, well, you know, we got too many members now because I can't do my 2-minute table topics. So we went to 1-minute table topics, and that silenced things for about 6 weeks. And then people were saying, well, like, you know, Ron, just shut down the membership, you know, portfolio because we can't take any members. Can you imagine a store saying, well, sorry, we have too many customers, so we're reducing our hours? No, if you're the manager of the store, if you own it, you figure out how you can capitalize on all these people who are coming to your door. So we invented something that we started in January called Monday Night Table Topics. So we went from being a Thursday morning club, which we still are, and we start at 2 minutes to 7, 6:58. We end at 8. So now we have on Monday nights, twice a month, 55 minutes of fun is what we call it, Monday Night Table Topics. And it's just table topics. And we get 15 or 16 people out to that event, which is what most good Toastmaster clubs would like to have in a regular meeting. So we get them out for that, and it's spiked up. So back to the question about where do you do your speeches. Last year, one of our issues was, well, we don't have enough spots. So we were encouraging people to go out to other clubs and speak, and they did. And the complaint that came back was, well, the valuations we get, they're not as good as they are in our club. So that's not really good to send us out there. And our people have been brought up in a cocoon. They think that Dynamically Speaking is the Toastmaster club that exists on every corner around the world, and it's not. So we started doing Monday night extra speeches. So like in August, we had an event on a Monday night where we had 7 speeches done. We're doing one this Monday night, and it looks like we're only going to have 3 people. But so what? Now people are not complaining that there's not enough spots for speakers. And so, yeah, we've had to evolve and come and become, you know, like a different kind of club. We're a Monday night club and we're a Thursday night club. But we don't get the complaints that our club is too big anymore. So we've looked at, well, how do we creatively solve this? If this was a business, would we be turning away people? No, we wouldn't be turning away people. And so we have some people who come to our club. Probably every meeting now that we have, there's 2 or 3 Toastmasters from some other place who have come to our club because they've kind of heard of it and they're going like, what is this? What's going on here? And I mean, they sit around and they ask questions type of thing, but it's some of them, well, a couple have come and said, well, they can do this because they're a big club. And our answer to that is, we are a big club because we do this. And it's kind of like a man's reach should exceed his grasp. That's a line that I used last night. Well, before we can be really good at something, we try it and then we get better at it. If we said, well, nothing that we try comes out perfect the first time, and we never get to perfection, but we get closer. So, you know, that's just some of the attitude that you have to have as a club. And mentoring is a big part of it. A lot of people come to our meetings and they will ask us, or like when the area directors were being trained, Bev LeBlanc and I did a session on how you make meetings good. But one of the things that we said in there, and Mary is here, she can back this up, or she was here, still here. she said, I think the most important thing you said there was about mentoring, because we couldn't have these amazing meetings that we have if we hadn't mentored people to perform in those roles.
I think that's key, Ron, and we were talking about it earlier. It doesn't happen during the meeting. You have to take that time to create the relationship and educate the mentee. And the other thing I just want to say is the day you stop recruiting is the day you start dying. And so across the board, we are always recruiting. And it's not necessarily for us, but I always think about it as the person coming through the door. What is it that they're going to gain? And when you have a mentality where it's for the person who walks through the door, that you have a gift to give them, it's an easy sell. And it's a very cheap sell. But the advantages of what we can learn and what we can share are so financially available for so many people. And then we have stories like what you're saying, Ron, or what Alison has shared tonight, and what other people, Shelley and Dorothy, I've experienced in Abraham. We've actually experienced it in the clubs that I've visited. It's something that we need to take further than the door. And we're excited to hear that there are some big success stories, and we'd like to see them shared and taken further. And at this point, after what Ron's saying, it's not just about District 42. We've crossed every border now. We've crossed every continent. I don't know, Ron, but I don't think Antarctica has a club yet. But otherwise, we've hit every continent in District 42 to visit or to be a member of. And that is a huge advantage of Zoom. And I think it is part of your perspective. If you're going to roll over and say this is the end, it will be. If you're going to roll over, you'll love this, Ron. So many clubs will say, well, it's not our fault. We meet at 7 in the morning. Nobody wants to get here at 7. And guess what I tell them now? Well, we have a club that meets at 7 that has over 40 members. Some of those people are getting up at 11 p.m. But
2 weeks ago, we had 42 members out to our meeting. And that's members and guests, but 42 people. Mary, you're here. I want you to comment on what you heard in that speech that I gave to the area directors and the division directors, and how kind of it's influenced your thinking on mentoring as a division director.
I'm trying to get my video on. I guess the thing that really stuck in my head, Ron, is still there, is that, and I really listened to this because I was really noticing, and I really came into this role of being aware that there's some Division E clubs that are really struggling for members. And I hear that all over the districts. Every meeting I go to, there's some club or whatever is struggling for members, and how do we deal with that? And what you said was that a member problem is a meeting problem. And I've been to your meetings, and I know that they're just, whoa, like everyone is wide awake at 7 in the morning. And I was just kind of hanging my head in my coffee. But it was a really upbeat, fun place to be on a Thursday morning. And I thought, okay, like a member problem is a meeting problem. Well, if you can bring that kind of energy, and everybody brought that kind of energy to their roles. So every single role was well prepared for. The person, unlike me, had their video and their mic all ready. Like it was just bang, 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 bang. It was so slick and well done. And then you said, a meeting problem is a mentor problem. And I thought, that is ultimately it, because I know from my own experience that mentoring has made such a difference in my home club. And so I could really see how a member problem, meeting problem, mentor, that those were pieces of a picture that just fit together. And once you got them all there, it would flow. So that's what stuck with me, Ron.
Sounds like a bumper sticker, Ron.
What was that, Christina?
Sounds like a bumper sticker.
Yeah, no, but that's well said. Lots of times when I'm working with people who are coaching clubs and things like that, I just say, like, don't even recruit new members until you've got prepared members. Because once guests show up, and if they're if they see 9 people in a room and 2 or 3 of them are doing a couple of roles or something like that, they just say, well, I can't join this club. It's just too organized. And how am I going to learn here and things like that? It's just far better to take your club and make sure that everybody knows how to do everything. And then, build from the ground up type of thing. If you've got 9 people in a room and they're all doing one role and they know how to do it well, a guest who comes in and says, yeah, I could be a part of this. But because there's no confusion and there's no stumbling around.
Shelley has a question. How do you put mentorship in place when the club is really small?
Oh, Marg, we should answer that question because that came up last night and I talked about that. You've got to have to come up with novel solutions. So Shelley, I haven't practiced it in theory, but so many of the things that we've done in the last year and a half because of Zoom, they were all theory until we tried them type of thing. But one of my suggestions last night is if you're a club coach and you're a club coach that has 9 members, but only, 6 of them show up for a meeting type of thing, it's just awful. And it's just an energy draining situation. But you're probably going to be able to find a few other coaches that are out there like that. So I suggested having an extra meeting once a month where the 4 coaches have planned it out and you get 4 or 5 people from each club to that meeting, and it's not a regular Toastmaster meeting. It's devoted to coaching up those members so that they can do those roles, and so that they go back to their club. They know how to be the table topics master, and they know how to be an evaluator because you've taught them in those kinds of situations. And that's what the great advantage of Zoom. You can get people from all over the place and really focus on things that are there in Toastmasters. So Mary, I'm going to take this opportunity to plug CAPS for ESL, which nobody knows about, but sitting in that meeting, our Monday night table topics meeting at Dynamically Speaking, just an idea clicked in my head because I'm also, Daisy Wee isn't here, but she is the best salesperson in District 42. And she got me to come to her club that she was coaching.
She heard you. She just arrived.
Oh, okay. She got me to come to Centennial she said, help mentor the new president. And there's another guy who needs help with one speech. And that was in November of last year. So I came in December and somehow I'm still in the club and now I'm a member of the club. But there's a lot of ESL people there in the club. So what we decided to do was create a new program. And it's modeled on this extra meeting a month. So now we're going into our 3rd month where we have this extra meeting. It's Monday at noon and it's for 1 hour. And what we're trying to do is take skills that you learn at Toastmasters, but apply them directly to the workplace for ESL speakers. So they can take the skills that they learn, say, as the Toastmaster of the day and apply them to running a meeting in the workplace, that type of thing, because we're trying to get them to overcome barriers that they face. Well, we did that extra meeting. We thought, well, it's going to help us recruit more ESL speakers to our club because our members will invite other members. And that's been modest. We've had 1 new member in the first 2 meetings come out of that. But what's happened, and Mary, I'm going to use this word, some of the grand dames of Toastmasters in Calgary, these women who've been DTMs for 25 or 30 years, they've heard about this, like Mary and Marcy Fields and
oh, well, thank goodness we have these grand
Judy
dams in the
places like that. Anyway,
Christina's
42, right? Hey, Christina, that we were very blessed to have these people that have been with the program for many years.
They're amazing because they have ESL people in their clubs, and what they're doing is they're sending them to the clubs and come to our meetings and coming along as well. And so it's just gone off in a totally different direction than we planned. But it's an example of using Zoom and leveraging and getting people, creating a new kind of meeting. And what we're doing is mentoring. in that meeting. We're getting people to take on different kinds of roles with different kinds of speeches. They're manual speeches, but they're not, you know, the traditional Toastmaster speeches. Like in our first meeting, we had one of our members who speaks 3 languages do a 10 to 12-minute speech. You know, the one where you do a Q&A. You do 10 minutes and then you do 5 minutes of Q&A. He did it on the software program Grammarly. And that's a program that you ESL speakers use to help them with their written English. And so he did a series on that. There were some Q&As. And so we're trying to bridge the gap between the workplace and the Toastmasters and bring it closer so it's easier for people to excel at work because they've learned some things at Toastmasters.
So Ron, it's interesting. Mentoring is the answer for everything. And I think what you said just now is critical. If you don't know what your members need, it doesn't matter what you're mentoring, you've got to hit what they need. And obviously that crowd is looking for better English language skills. There are other people that are looking for better leadership skills. There are people who want to be funny. There are people that want to be trainers or presenters or techies or whatever presenters. So I think across the board, it's fair to say that mentoring will answer every question and every stumbling block. And once you can establish that mentoring culture, you will obviously have sustainability, and that leads to successful clubs. And we talked about clubs that are presidents distinguished year after year, like yours, like Alisen's. Chinook has been successful. We probably have about 20 clubs that do it year after year. And today we're here to say, look at what they're doing and take it to your club. And Ron, Dynamically Speaking has been so generous at 7 a.m. for people to come and see how it's done. And I think what you've touched on today is it's what's done before the meeting. It's the mentoring so the meeting is successful, so the membership is successful.
Last year, during the fall training session, I did membership. I did the training for divisions A and D. And I was talking about the growth that our club was experiencing. And I could just tell from looking at the faces that people didn't believe me. So I challenged them to come to our meeting. And the next morning, there was one person who came, one person, only one. And there was 40 people in the room. That person's name was Mary Schoendorfer, who came to the meeting. And Mark will tell you that Katrina invited me to speak at her coaches group last year, and I did the same challenge. And one person came the following week to our meeting. One person, Daisy Wee, came.
And check it out. 2 division directors this year. You're a miracle worker, Ron.
There's an interesting connection in all of that. But just, I'll shut up here, but I want to just say one more thing. If you see a successful Toastmasters club, they didn't get there without mentoring. It's just impossible to have people learn everything by themselves. So, and what we've tried to do is borrow best practices from business. The best organizations in the world have strong mentoring programs, and the best Toastmaster clubs have strong mentoring programs.
That's a lesson for us all. So how many people, show of hands, are going to increase their mentorship, to increase their meeting appeal, to increase their membership? Hands up. We'll be checking in on you. We're thrilled you are all here tonight. Ron, thank you for being our caboose. At the end of our session, your knowledge and wisdom is extremely appreciated in District 42.
How many are going to go check out Dynamically Speaking?
So well, the
biggest challenge apparently is 7 o'clock.
Not at Dynamically Speaking. Get your hat on and be ready for an energized meeting. And the best part about visiting a club that's successful is taking it back to your club and doing what your people need to make your club successful. And it can start small, and it always does. Thank you, everybody, for attending. We will be following up because that's what mentors do. And we wish you the best of success through contest season, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you for attending, everyone.